flattened out. Apparently has it done to his satisfaction. A grass infield because Cheney Stadium in Tacoma is a professional baseball park that has been redesigned for this tournament. Here's a called strike now to Jim Fillion. Stan Nacarado, the general manager of the Pacific Coast League, AAA classification Tacoma Baseball Club, had his team scheduled out of town for 2 weeks. So this tournament could go on.
They better stay out of town 3 weeks after what they've done to that infield.
Well, I understand that is going to be resodded. Scotty Ryan, the chief groundskeeper now, as we have time called again, has indicated that what they will do after cutting away the base paths and the pitching box and taking the mound off and so forth, as you can see, the
a lot of brown
grass
spots
now
there.
is pretty well gone. That was a lush green infield when the tourney started.
Well, like the outfield, you look out over the fence into the outfield, and it's very green, beautiful. It's a gorgeous ballpark.
It really is. It's one of the very nice ballparks, and seats a little over 8,000. A half swing. I think he was trying to protect the runner. The throw to second goes into center field. There goes Van Zoren for second base. It'll be an error to the catcher. Van Zoren wasn't going, as there was some mix-up or cross-up in signals. Fillion swinging appeared to be trying to protect a runner going, and the runner didn't go, and then the catcher threw it away.
Perhaps he got a bad jump because he started to go. The hitter thought he was going, obviously just trying to confuse the catcher with that swing. Then suddenly stopped running, went back to first, but then when the throw went into center field, he took off and beat it.
So an error to the catcher. Terri Nunn's on the throw. And to Jim Fillion now with 2 out, a chance to get a run home from scoring position. Check swing, strike 3 called. He is out of there and the inning is over. So Fillion does not get Van Zoren home. In the second inning for the United States, it is no runs. On no hits, there was 1 error for New Zealand and 1 man left on. At the end of 2 complete innings in this championship round game from the World Fast Pitch Softball Tournament in Tacoma, we are still tied. New Zealand nothing, the United States nothing, and we'll be right back. Well, as you can see, the fans here have their flags to indicate their rooting favorites in these games. And those flags of several countries are available in the ballpark. The United States flags, I know, have been on sale at concession stands at the Tacoma Baseball Park. And now we go to the top half of inning number 3. New Zealand with catcher Terri Nunn coming to the plate. He'll be followed by shortstop Paul Rogers, then the top of the order to Peter Hartley, who has the only hit of the game. No score. Owen Walford doing the pitching for the United States. Fastball outside, ball 1. Walford really has not hit his stride, his rhythm, yet in this game. Owen ready. And here it comes. Top foul, a fastball in on the inside corner just above the knees. And Terri Nunn, the stockily built catcher, topped the ball and rolled it back to the stands.
It's a good sinker. I'd say about 90% of the pitches you will see these pitchers throw will be either good hard sinkers or that rising fastball. And the hitter, of course, has to make the decision as to whether the ball will sink or rise. And the difference between the two is really about a foot, at least a foot, I would say. Probably more than that.
It gets up there so fast, you almost have to make the decision last night at dinner.
I think you almost have to guess one way or the other and stick with your guess. If you get the other, just don't even swing.
All right, Nunn's over that plate, chokes up on the bat. 1-1 pitch. He hits it up in the air to left field. Rod Johnson moves over a bit, camps under it, gathers it in, and there's 1 away. As Terri Nunn flies out to left fielder Rod Johnson, and that will bring up now Paul Rogers. Rogers, 35-year-old shortstop. He's an interior decorator when he's away from the softball diamond. New Zealand team is, of course, a national selection, sort of an all-star team, was the way manager Lester Baldwin described it to us. Rogers ready at the plate, right-hand hitter. And the curveball breaks high and outside. It's ball 1.
Bob, that's interesting that New Zealand has an all-star team. I thought they all had to have already complete ball clubs and not all-star teams.
No, some of them, in fact, quite a number of them are literally national teams selected as you would a national team in any sport, was an all-star selection, tryout camp, and so forth.
But it's not true of the USA.
The US,
who
no.
already had a complete ball club and just added 4 players.
Right. Canada works under pretty much the same system.
Right.
Their team from the St. Catharines, Ontario area with the additions. So the North American system is a little different than the rest of the world. I think from preference more than anything else. That one's a strike. They rule that he came around with the bat. And the count is a ball and 2 strikes now to Paul Rogers. Terri Nunn, who batted ahead of Rogers, is also 35 years of age. Here's a swing and a miss on a fastball on the inside corner. And Rogers is down on strikes, and that surprisingly is the first strikeout for Owen Walford, the second out of the 3rd inning. He has been, as we told you, averaging 2 strikeouts per game through this tournament. But he is, in all honesty, facing one of the better ball clubs in this tournament now. Here's the man with the only hit in the game, Peter Hartley, the first baseman. Hartley singled back up the middle to lead the game off in the 1st inning. The fastball is a called strike, letter high over the heart of the plate.
Usually the pitchers will try to get ahead of the hitters to avoid the walk, and once they have the count in their favor, then they will start moving the ball to the corners, going inside and outside.
Walford now with that edge at 1 strike. Foul at strike 2. Hartley, a 28-year-old lithographer. I think they could have said printer, couldn't they?
I would have gone for printer.
Yeah. Maybe there's a little more flair or something. But he's a lithographer anyway. Hartley, the first baseman on this softball team. That one bounced to the plate and over the catcher and umpire and back to the stands. So it's a ball and 2 strikes.
Bob, I think I'm right in that about 11 or 12 years ago, the distance between the pitcher's mound and home plate used to be shorter, about 40 feet. And they decided the pitcher had too much of an advantage. They moved it to 43 feet and then back to 46 feet. But still, the pitchers pretty much dominate this game.
Yeah, the really good pitchers have a great edge, and I suppose they always will have. Back to throw at second base. Otherwise, here's the pitch high. And the count levels at 2 balls and 2 strikes with 2 out. But they seem to have found a much happier medium out there now with that 46-foot distance. Walford threw that wind-up breaking pitch that time as he snapped the wrist, and the count goes to 3-2.
No off-speed pitches yet by either pitcher. Have you noticed that?
Now, they've not really changed up. They've come with some breaking stuff, but nobody's really pulled the string on anybody yet. There's the fastball fouled off. It may well be, Wes, that neither pitcher up to this point feels the confidence in what he is producing.
I think you're right.
Come with that stuff.
I think they're still trying to get comfortable, but once they do, they will come with some really outstanding off-speed pitches.
There's your third base coach and manager for the United States team, watching, trying to get, or for the New Zealand team rather, trying to get something going. As a chopping half swing, strike 3. Didn't get us started this inning as you were looking there at Coach Roy Dalton. And so the inning goes 1, 2, 3, and Walford finally logs a couple of strikeouts. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left. And so in the middle of the 3rd inning of our ball game, it is New Zealand nothing, the United States nothing. ESPN hits the road with Auto Racing 80 Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. USAC Sprint and Midget Class competition is featured on this thrill-packed series of races from throughout the USAC circuit. Join your Total Sports Network each Sunday with a repeat telecast at 11:30 p.m. Pacific Time for the benefit of West Coast viewers. Auto Racing 80 Car Wars on ESPN. Well, I guess, Wes, you get enough of the freeways, you don't have any desire to drive those things fast.
Oh, yeah, I'm an L.A. boy, and we get plenty of that. Now, there's a beautiful shot. Is that...
That's Mount Rainier, Wes. And
that's
if you look at that very carefully, you can see how that was volcanically formed.
Yeah.
The 2 points on the outside and the dip through the middle there. Actually, that's the volcanic cone. And there's the dome, the lava dome in the middle makes that middle hump in there. And
well, you know, when I flew in this morning, we went right over St. Helens, which looked like that before it exploded, but after it did, it just took out the entire middle of that mountain. It was the most amazing thing you've ever seen.
I'll tell you, until you fly in close to that, here's your New Zealand contingent rooting for their team. Quite a number of them have come over. Until you get close to that Mount St. Helens, you cannot possibly realize the tremendous force that tore that mountain apart.
You just can't. You cannot tell from the pictures. It's awesome.
Top quarter of a mile of that mountain, and all of one side are completely gone, just dissolved. All right, we're ready for the bottom of the third. Nelson Cronkright is the batter. The pitch by Magan called strike on the inside corner as he begins to wheel and fire that ball now. Cronkright, the catcher, will be followed by Jack Starling, the second baseman. And we will now have a conference along the first base side. Little meeting going on for the United States team to try and get things straightened away, figure out where they're going. No balls, one strike. Paul Magan of New Zealand. Right-hander ready and into the motion. And a bunt. He lost the bat. It rolls foul as it rolls past the charging third baseman, Wayne Nicholls. That time, Cronkright just sort of left the bat behind. He just let it go and took off.
It's almost a one-man hit and run the way they start running out of that batter's box and just try to drop the bat down on the ball. Get the ball on the ground any way they can and just run like crazy. Try to get a base runner.
Well, I think especially in that case because the third baseman, Nicholls, was laying back. He had not come creeping up to the midway point to the plate, and it just looked like an opportunity to bunch away aboard. But now with 2 strikes, that opportunity may be gone. Here's Magan, a half swing and a foul back to the screen.
It's interesting, Bob, that when you say the third baseman was laying back, he was only 15 feet in front of the bag instead of his usual 20 feet.
Right, we have not in the entire tournament, championship or qualifying round, seen a third baseman get back as far as even with the bag.
That's right. Or the first baseman.
That's right, and we probably won't either. It's going to take one heck of a power hitter up at that plate to drive him back that deep. Magan into the windup. A pop-up foul on the first base side. It'll carry back out of play.
But to show you how effective a weapon the bunt is in this game, the first and third baseman play in even with 2 strikes on a hitter.
They can never take that chance that somebody won't lay it down. Here are the umpires for the contest underway at the present time. They come from Canada, Mexico, the Dominican Republic, and Japan. So we have an international cast of umpires. The Canadian umpires behind the plate. Fastball is outside. Mexican umpire at first base. The Dominican umpire is at second. The Japanese umpire is at third base for this game. We've had excellent umpiring throughout the entire tournament to date. A few cases of communications problems, language barriers, but they've always gotten them settled to everybody's satisfaction. Here's the 1-2 delivery. A pop-up. Second baseman retreats behind the bag, backpedaling into shallow center field, and he makes the catch. That is John Joyce gathering it in to retire Nelson Cronkright. And so there's one away for the United States in the bottom of the third inning. The batter is Jack Starling. Jack, the second baseman and captain of the team. Jack, in fact, has acted on many occasions as a spokesman for the team during the playing of the tournament. Adding 154 to this point in tournament play. Swings and fouls the first pitch back into the screen behind home plate. Fence has been erected here in this baseball park at 250 feet distance from home plate, and that is the home run fence in fast pitch softball. 250 feet all the way around. Again, the windup by Magan and the pitch, and his fastball rises high, and it's 1-1.
You just mentioned the length of the fence out there. I've watched 2 games. This is the third one I've seen, and I haven't seen a ball even come close to that fence. Not even close.
There have been some in the tournament, about a half a dozen during the qualifying rounds, and as my recollection goes, Canada has hit more than its share of them. They've got a couple of pretty good hitters. Here's the curveball on the outside and a bit high, and that's ball 2. Rod Johnson has come close a couple of times for the United States. He has good power. And as a matter of fact, the hit that beat the Dominican Republic almost did it. There's Rod waiting his turn at bat, so perhaps we will get a chance to see one well hit. Magan pitching to Jack Starling. Swing and a miss. He blew the fastball by him that time, and the count goes to 2-2.
He's really sticking with that riser. Almost every pitch he throws is rising up off the ground, and the hitters are all underneath it, popping the ball up.
And it does now look as if he's beginning to get the feel of that pitch. He's getting it into the strike zone now. He's coming a lot closer. He's more effective with it. That one was outside, and Starling had a notion, but changed his mind and let it go by, and the count runs full now, 3-2. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Shane, Russell, and Cotter, the outfield from left to right for New Zealand. Nicholls, Rogers, Joyce, Hartley around the infield from third to first. Terri Nunn's the catcher. Paul Magan, ready, throws the 3-2 pitch, popped up foul, out of play behind to the right. As the big crowd at Cheney Stadium in Tacoma watches, the crowds have been very, very big for many of these games, reaching 8,000 on one occasion, more than 7,000 on another. Those are big crowds. This ballpark holds 8,001. Here's the pitch, fouled back.
Bob, you're talking about the crowd. I was just curious, do you happen to know in which country in the world fast-pitch softball is the most popular?
Well, I think it probably still is in the United States, but Canada and New Zealand have really come on in the sport. Canada developing along with the United States has played it for a long time. New Zealand has come in the last 15, 18 years, and it's become a big sport down under.
Along with cricket. They still play cricket down there, too.
Oh, yeah, they play a lot of things down there. Here's Paul Magan. Watch now and just see where he releases the ball here as he goes into the big windmill. See the step. Now, that front foot must hit before the back one can be lifted off the ground, and there goes the ball. He's allowed only that one step, and he must land on that front foot before the other one can come up off the rubber.
Another interesting thing about these pitchers is they can actually pitch double headers and come back the next day after pitching the day before, because it's a much more natural motion for a pitcher to come underhand than overhand.
Oh, yeah, it's just a natural swing of the arm.
They just don't seem to get tired.
All right, here's Rod Johnson at the plate, batting left-handed. He bunts the ball up in the air. The shortstop and the third baseman go, and the third baseman makes the catch. Good effort by third baseman Wayne Nicholls as he went back and almost took the ball out of the shortstop's glove that time. He got a very difficult shot at it, but then so did the shortstop. He might have had to make the diving catch, and so there are two away. Rod Johnson bunting, and the third baseman Wayne Nicholls. Here it is again. He bunted the ball very hard. It was almost a swinging bunt there. He didn't separate the hands on the bat, and he popped it up in the air. And there's the third baseman Nicholls running back in front of the shortstop to make the running catch. The batter Barry Cashin grounded out to the pitcher his last time up, and he's 0 for 1 in the game. He's the designated hitter. Fastball. The runner jumps off the bag at first, but he'll go back. Ball is outside, ball 1. After Cashin would come right fielder Bill Stewart. If Cashin can keep things alive for the United States, the bearded designated hitter. Another beautiful sunny day for championship round softball action in Tacoma. Chopping swing at a fastball in on the hands, and that's 1-1. As Cashin failed to connect. Blue skies overhead. Few white clouds on the horizon, big crowd in the ballpark, and a great game underway. Light breeze blowing in from the southwest. Magan ready. Here's the pitch. Fastball is up too high, and the count is 2 balls and 1 strike.
Most of the hitters take a pretty short chopping swing, as you've been describing it, Bob, at the ball, because they really don't have the time to get back and take a full cut. The team from the Bahamas had a lot of big swingers, but they all pretty much struck out. You've got to shorten up your swing in this game.
Very difficult to take a big roundhouse swing. Here's the ball punched over the second baseman's head to right field. Around second base goes Starling. He's on his way to third. The throw is cut off, and the United States on the hit by Barry Cashin has runners at the corners and a threat going with 2 out in the bottom of the 3rd inning.
Look at
Here's
this
what
swing.
happened.
As you described it, a very short, choppy swing. That's all he needed to do to just really punch that ball. He kind of backed off and just chopped it over the second baseman's head.
Didn't try to power it out of the ballpark, and Starling with 2 out was off of the crack of the bat. He's all the way to third, and so as New Zealand holds a conference at the mound now, the United States with 2 out now has runners at the corners. Starling at third, Barry Cashin at first, and the batter is Bill Stewart. And Stewart has decided to walk down and talk to his first base coach. They'll discuss what's going on. The first base coach, by the way, is Tom Wagner, who also is from Seattle. While most teams added only players, the Midland, Michigan team brought 2 players and a coach from the Peterbilt Western team of Seattle, and the coach is over at first base. Now, Cashin has decided to come over and talk to the third base coach.
You know why? They may send him. They may just turn him loose and maybe try and get him in a rundown between first and second, dare the catcher to throw or something to get that runner at third a chance to score.
We have seen the double steal and the effort to thwart the double steal by faking the throw and then throwing the ball back to the mound a number of times during this tournament. And you have to figure that somewhere the strategies are going to unmesh and somebody's going to score a run on that double steal. So the runner at third base now, Jack Starling, is poised to go. Cashin at first is ready. Stewart is at the plate, 2 out. Bottom of the third, no score. Here's the pitch, swing and a miss on a fastball. The runners both broke off the bases, but neither one went. The New Zealand strategy was obvious in their meeting at the mound, and that was Mr. Magan, throw that thing.
Well, the catcher really bounced out, too. He knows something is probably up. He really got out there quickly in case something was on.
He might have some strategy in mind other than going to the mound. He might go, for example, to shortstop and get the runner off third base, try to get him to come home. Here's a swing and a miss on a fastball. The shortstop breaking into cover at third behind the third baseman who is pulled up. This is your runner at third, Jack Starling, and the runner at first, Barry Cashin. Wagner, the coach there, with his hands cupped. He's talking to this man, Bill Stewart. Runners are ready. 2 strikes the count. Here's the pitch. He pops it up at the plate. The catcher comes back, mask on. He's under it. He's got it, and the side is retired. Bill Stewart fouls out to Terri Nunn, the catcher. And for the United States in the third inning, it is no runs. 1 hit, the Americans' first in the game. There were no errors by New Zealand. 2 men left on, and at the end of 3, the score is New Zealand nothing, the United States nothing, and we'll be right back. Well, here in Tacoma, there are a couple of hills that surround the baseball park, and of course, this baseball park is now the site of the World Softball Tournament, and the fans are using the same vantage points that they use for baseball. They park their cars up there and bring picnic lunches and watch the games. And here we go to the 4th inning with Wayne Nicholls at the plate, and he swings and misses, strike 1. Owen Walford, the Fog, doing the pitching for the United States against New Zealand. Nicholls tried to sacrifice, wound up safe on an error to the first baseman back in the first inning. New Zealand, however, with all of that action, did not score in the first, and nobody has tallied yet. We're 0-0 after 3 and now into the 4th. Count goes to 1-1.
Look at the concentration these pitchers go through. Walford really going through his whole routine, getting himself ready before he delivers.
Throws the fastball, swing and a miss. Pitch may have been a little high, but batter Wayne Nicholls went for it. Walford perhaps goes through as much gyration getting ready here, the rocking and the wiggling of the fingers, as anybody that has pitched in this tournament, although Paul Magan seems to have a similar style. Getting the ball set. Half swing, they call him out. Nicholls is called out on the half swing. He tried to check it. The plate umpire called it, and of course, once the plate umpire calls a strike, then there is no appeal. You can only appeal the ball call. You cannot appeal the strike call.
Bob, you're right about both these pitchers. I think they're starting to settle down now. They were obviously a little bit nervous at the start of the game, but they're throwing much harder. That was a good, smoking, rising fastball.
Right, and Nicholls came around on it. He tried to stop the swing, just couldn't in time. He's out, and John Lowe's is the batter, the designated hitter. He'll take it from the southpaw side. The fastball is on the outside edge, and that's a called strike. Might, as a matter of fact, point out that Walford, who did not have a strikeout until the third inning, has struck out the last 3 men he has faced. If that says I'm in my rhythm, I guess that's it. Owen cranks, delivers. Swing and a miss. Again, that short chopping swing by John Lowe's, but nothing there when the bat came around.
That ball just sunk right under his bat. He didn't like that.
No. Again, Walford setting the ball in his glove. The pitch is low and away.
He threw him one fastball in the outside corner that rose. The next one sank. And Lowe's is a confused young man. He's also upset at the umpire. He thought the first one was a ball.
Well, I tell you, in this game, there's no time to get upset. You get thinking about anything but that ball, and you're in trouble. Ground ball through the hole to right. That's a base hit. Lowe's throws away the helmet as he makes the turn at first base. But John Lowe's, the designated hitter, has the second New Zealand hit of the ball game, the third safe base hit overall. And here's how it looks as John Lowe's got the one he finally did want.
Look at him get on top of this ball that's rising. That's really hard to do, to be that quick with the bat.
Yeah,
get on top and hit that ball down on the ground.
Yeah, because if you go up there like that and that ball doesn't rise, you're going to miss it by 6-8 inches over the top and look kind of foolish. Alan Russell comes up with Lowe's at first base. Russell hit the infield fly into a double play his first time up. Not easy to do. Fastball called strike. He chokes up about 8-9 inches on the handle of that bat. Russell's the center fielder for New Zealand. Tall, blondish youngster. Square away stance in the right-hand box. First baseman way down the line. Here's the pitch, and it's a long fly down the left field line, but it'll curve foul. Bounces over the low fence and all the way to the batting cage down in the left field corner of the ballpark. So, Wes, there was a young man who got a hold of the ball with pretty good power.
About as far as we've seen a ball hit so far in this game.
You're right. Alan Russell. Count 2 strikes now. First baseman still up fairly close. Here's the pitch. There's the changeup curve. Not the full string pull dead fish to the plate, but he slowed it up and through the breaking pitch. Lowe's running at first base, standing behind the United States first baseman there, Jim Wright. Now the wind by Walford again. Swing and a miss on a fastball. He went right to his knees to try and get that one and didn't. So strikeout number 4 for Owen Walford. 4 of the last 5 batters, in fact, have been strikeouts. Only John Lowe's with the base hit has broken that string. I watch how he came in tight and low with this one.
Throws him a good sinker here rather than the riser. And it's really a guessing game between hitter and pitcher as to whether that ball will rise or sink.
And with a pitcher like Owen Walford, you'd have to say the odds go with the pitcher most of the time. Jimmy Cotter, the batter. He was thrown out stealing after drawing a base on balls in the second inning. Beats a ground ball over the third baseman. Past the shortstop. Knocked down by the shortstop. He'll hold the runner at second base, but that'll be a base hit. So Jimmy Cotter bounces one past the in-drawn third baseman. Shortstop Jim Fillion, running towards the line, managed to knock the ball down, but could not make a play on it. But by knocking it down, at least he did keep it in the infield and held John Lowe's at second base. Had the ball gone through, Lowe's likely would have gone to third.
Well, that ground is hard enough, as we were talking earlier, to get the ball to bounce over the third baseman's head. Now, the shortstop makes a nice play to keep the runner from going to third base.
And that brings up John Joyce, the second baseman. He flied to right field to Bill Stewart his last time up. New Zealand with a threat now with 2 out. Runners at first and second. Still no score in the game. We're in the 4th inning. A line drive, speared one-handed by Wright at first base. Great play by the first baseman, Jimmy Wright. As the ball was hit low and to his right, and he had to spear it across his body backhanded, and he went into a near pirouette to come up with that ball, but he did, as Joyce lines out to the first baseman, Jim Wright. And the New Zealand threat in the 4th is gone with no runs, 2 hits, no errors, and 2 men left on. And in the middle of the 4th inning, it's still 0-0. New Zealand and the United States tied in this ball game, and it's still a dandy and still belongs to the pitchers at this present time. Well, if you like a lot of excitement and a lot of noise and a lot of thrills, then I guess you can have it by watching USAC Sprint and Midget Class Racing. It's all on ESPN. It's Sunday nights at 9 o'clock with a West Coast viewing time of 6 p.m. And the auto racing, of course, comes to you from around the country from the top tracks. A repeat telecast at 11:30 p.m. Pacific time for the benefit of West Coast viewers. It's Auto Racing 80, Car Wars on ESPN, Sundays at 9, and I think you'll really enjoy the show. Well, some of the fans here in various attire and headgear. As you can see, the straw hat and the gigantic flag And the other fellow with the softball cap and the little tiny flag, but they're here for the same reason, to enjoy the excitement of this international game and this World Championship tournament. Bottom of the fourth, United States, Jeff Peck, Russ Van Zoren, Jim Wright, who made that great play at first base. Here's Peck. That, I believe, was a New Zealand yell. First pitch is a called strike. Jeff Peck flied out to left field his last time up.